We've all seen it happen. Maybe we've even been through it ourselves. A relationship that seems totally solid just ends. And the question that hangs in the air is always, why? Most of the time, we just assume the love ran out. But what if there's more to it? What if that's not the whole story at all?
This is the default story, isn't it? It's what we're told, what we see in movies. It's the simplest explanation, you know? It's a clean break. Sad, for sure, but straightforward. Two people just fall out of love. The end.
But is it really that simple? I mean, what about those situations where you can tell the love is still there, kind of lingering in the background, but the relationship breaks down anyway? Let's poke at that big assumption for a minute. So we're going to look at a totally different way to understand this. A new framework that goes beyond just love and instead focuses on something else. Something that's like the actual foundation that holds a relationship up. And here's the thing that changes everything. A relationship falling apart doesn't always mean the love is dead. Often, the real problem is that the bridge that lets that love get from one person to the other, well, that bridge is gone. And that brings us to this key idea, emotional capacity. Okay, think of it like a battery, an emotional battery inside you. It's the power source for being present, for really engaging, for actually listening to your partner. And just like the battery in your phone, it is not infinite. It can, and does, get drained. So let's just put these two ideas right next to each other. On one side, you have the common belief, it's a lack of love. But on the other, you have this deeper cause, a depleted emotional capacity. See, one is about a feeling vanishing. The other is about the ability to show up for your partner vanishing. And that is a massive, massive distinction. Okay, so if emotional capacity is a battery, what's draining all the power? Well, it's usually not some big, dramatic explosion. It's more like a slow, quiet leak caused by all the pressures of just living life. And think about how incredibly common these things are. Chronic stress from your job or finances, old traumas that we never really processed, just being surrounded by negativity all the time, or, mental health struggles that we try to just push through. Every single one of these acts like an app running in the background, just silently eating away at our battery. To make this feel a bit more real, let's dive into a specific story. It's about a marriage where all the tough things life threw at them, they were never really dealt with together. They were just sort of absorbed. And that had this huge cumulative effect over time. And you can see exactly how it unfolds. First, you have that unprocessed pain. That leads to an emotional shutdown. It's like a defense mechanism. Pretty soon, all the conversations are just about logistics, groceries, schedules, who's picking up the kids. And the heartbreaking result? One person starts to feel completely and utterly alone, even when they're sitting in the same room. This is where things can get even tougher. When someone's emotional battery is on zero, their brain starts looking for the easiest path forward. And so often, that path is just avoidance. Just think about that for a second. That feeling of being totally unseen in your relationship. When you're emotionally starving, even a tiny bit of attention from somebody else can feel like a spotlight in a dark room. It's incredibly intense. It feels huge. And this part is so important to get. It's not that the new person is better or more exciting. It's not a competition. It's simply about a fundamental human need for connection finally being met after a long, long drought. The attention feels powerful just because it exists, where there used to be a void. Okay, let's be really, really clear here. Understanding the why behind something doesn't excuse it. It doesn't take away the responsibility for choices that cause harm. But what it does do is help us understand the context, that deep emotional vulnerability that might lead someone down that path in the first place. I mean, think about it. Making a huge, life-altering decision, like ending a marriage or truly committing to fixing it, that takes a tremendous amount of emotional energy. And when your battery is already dead, even the thought of having that hard conversation feels impossible. So, people just avoid it. And this just reframes that whole situation so powerfully. We might look at that and think, someone is trying to have their cake and eat it too, but often it's the exact opposite. It's someone trying to avoid making a painful final choice. It's not a solution at all. It's an act of profound avoidance that just makes the hurt so much worse for everyone involved. So what do we do with all this? Where do we go from here? Well, it really asks us to think about building our relationships on a new foundation, one that accepts that love, on its own, sometimes just isn't enough. And really, it all boils down to this. Love might be the fuel in the tank, but emotional presence, that's the engine. Without the capacity to be present, to really listen, to connect, all that love has nowhere to go. It can't actually move the relationship forward.
Just getting this distinction is a huge first step. It allows a couple, maybe with some help, to stop asking, do we still love each other? And to start asking a much more powerful, much more useful question.
So, was the core issue really a lack of love? Or was it a lack of the emotional tools needed to manage stress, to process hardship, and to keep that vital emotional battery charged? Because the answer to that question, well, it changes absolutely everything. We've definitely touched on some deep stuff today, and it's all meant to give you something to think about. If any of this really hit home for you, reaching out to a qualified professional is always a great next step. Thank you so much for spending this time with us.